You know, for decades, these whispers and just wild theories have been swirling around Indonesia's first president, Sukarno, and not just about his politics, but about a legendary, almost mythical treasure. So today, we're going to try and unravel this whole fascinating story.
I mean, it's an amazing idea, isn't it? Just imagine a secret fortune so huge it could wipe out a whole country's debt, just like that. This is the heart of the Sukarno treasure myth, and it's a story that has absolutely captivated millions of people.
And this is the number you always hear, 57,000 tons of gold. It's just an insane figure, right? It's a number so big it immediately grabs your imagination and sets the stage for a legend of truly epic proportions. But where in the world did an idea like this even come from?
So here's where it gets really interesting. The legend of Sukarno's treasure isn't just about gold bars sitting in a vault somewhere. It weaves together these mysterious, official-looking documents with something way, way deeper. A supposed spiritual bond that connects him to the very soul of ancient Java.
And just look at all the different stories that make up this legend. You've got these funds that sound really official, international agreements, and then boom, it's mixed with claims of inherited wealth from ancient kings. Each one of these adds a new, kind of believable layer to the whole mystery.
But it doesn't just stop with gold and money. Oh no. A huge part of Sukarno's whole mystique is his supposed spiritual link to one of the most powerful figures in all of Javanese mythology.
So, for those of you who might not know, Nyai Roro Kidul is not just some character from a folktale. She's this incredibly powerful, revered, and sometimes feared ruler of the Southern Sea. She's a spiritual queen, and for centuries her favor was said to grant power and legitimacy to the kings of Java.
And get this isn't just some vague myth. It became real, tangible. Sukarno himself actually commissioned a hotel with one room, room 308, that is permanently reserved for the queen. It's all decorated in green, her signature color, and it's filled with offerings. It's like a physical link right there to this whole spiritual connection.
Okay, so you might be thinking these are just cool stories, right? Folktales. Well, not exactly. The story takes a wild turn in the 1980s when the Indonesian government itself decided to find out if the treasure was real. They launched an official, top-secret hunt.
So how did this all start? It literally begins with a letter from a guy in prison, a former minister named Suabandrio. He writes to the president, Suharto, and claims he knows all about these massive funds, millions of dollars, tons of gold, all stored in banks in Switzerland and London. And that was enough to kick off this massive, top-secret investigation called Operation Teladan.
So, what did they find? Well, here's the punchline, straight from the horse's mouth. The guy who actually led the whole operation. After months of chasing down leads all over Europe, the result was nothing, zero. The gold wasn't there, and the bank accounts, poof, they just didn't exist.
Okay, so this is the big question, right? If the government's official search came up completely empty, then it really forces us to look past the myth and find out what was the real story about the man's finances.
Well, when you actually look at the accounts from the people who knew him best, his family, his close aides, even his own writings, they paint a picture that is dramatically, completely different from the legends of all this incredible wealth.
I mean, just listen to this quote from his own son, Guntur. Wow. It completely smashes every single myth. He's basically saying his dad was one of the poorest presidents in the world. No land, no house, and definitely no piles of gold.
And this slide right here, it just lays it all out. On one side, you have the crazy myths, 57,000 tons of gold, billions in Swiss banks. And on the other side, the reality, a $220 a month salary, worn-out pajamas, a president who literally had to borrow cash from his staff. I mean, the gap between the myth and the man is just staggering.
So, you gotta wonder, right? If the treasure wasn't real, why all the elaborate stories? Why the fake documents? Well, the answer, it turns out, has everything to do with politics, power, and symbolism.
Let's just take a look at the most famous piece of evidence, the Green Hilton Agreement. When historians actually look at it closely, the whole thing just falls apart. First off, the presidential seal on the document, totally wrong for the time period. Then there's the timeline. It's just impossible. President Kennedy couldn't be signing a treaty in Geneva while he was holding a press conference in the US. And the real kicker, there's absolutely no official record of this agreement, anywhere. This wasn't a mistake, folks. This was a flat-out forgery.
So, what about that whole mystical marriage to the Queen of the Southern Sea? Well, this quote really gets to the symbolic heart of it. For a country that's made up of literally thousands of islands,
Marrying the sea is a super powerful metaphor, isn't it? It's about mastering the very waters that connect and define your nation.
And that's really the key here. So when Sukarno linked himself to her, he wasn't claiming to be a wizard. He was plugging into this ancient, centuries-old tradition where Javanese kings used that same spiritual connection to show that they had a right to rule. It was a brilliant, powerful symbol.
Okay, so we've seen the evidence. The treasure is pretty clearly a myth. So the big question is, why? Why, after all these years, do these stories stick around? Why do so many people still want to believe? Well, the reasons are, pretty human when you get down to it. It's about national pride. It's about the hope for a magical, simple fix to really complex economic problems. It taps into this deep cultural idea of a hidden savior, a Satrio Peningite, who will return one day to save everyone. And let's be real, the story of a secret golden hoard is just way more dramatic and fun than the dry historical facts.
So in the end, the treasure of Sukarno isn't really about gold bars in a Swiss vault at all, is it? It's more like a mirror. It's a story a nation tells itself, a story reflecting its hopes for greatness, its anxieties about the present, and its deep, deep search for a brighter golden age.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. Maybe the real value of a myth isn't whether it's factually true or false, but what it shows us about the people who believe in it. So think about it. What do the big myths and legends from where you're from reveal about your collective dreams?